Welcome back. This is episode number 354 of the Healthy Diabetic Podcast. I'm Coach Ken. As always, I'm joined by my good diabetic friend and partner in crime, Graham Hubbard. If you don't know much about our story, Graham and I are two type 1s who have over 50 years of lived experience with type 1 diabetes. We talk about anything and everything diabetes on this show, and we hope to inspire you to think differently about how you're managing your diabetes. Before we get started, please remember that nothing that you hear on this before we get started, please remember that nothing that you hear on this podcast should be considered medical advice or otherwise. Please always consult your medical team before making any changes to your diabetes management. Graham, what's up, my man? We got a great show. I'm excited to talk about some stuff. You got some stuff up in our notes here. We're going to jump here in just a second, but how's everything going?
Good. Yeah. I do have a bunch of things written down. It's funny, you're taking a sip and I just took a sip out of a new bottle. What does a trainer tell someone that's like good advice for consuming water during the day? Like, is it the device you're drinking out of? Some people got those big jugs. Like, how do you, what's like a go-to? What's the best way for someone to watch and track water consumption? Like, is there like, I
think there's two thoughts about this.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I think there's two thoughts about this because I think the first is, are you actually tracking it, or are you just trying to consume a good amount of, fluids throughout the day? Because if you want to track it, then you need to have like an actual mug that's like, 16, 32, 64 ounces, whatever it is, because that's going to help you track how much water you're consuming, obviously, throughout the day. If you just are someone like that's not trying to track and wants to, just drinking enough water throughout the day, then I think the most important piece is always having something with you, never not having anything with you. So you go into the car, you've got water with you. You're on a call, you're doing a podcast, you have something with you. This is actually water, not coffee. So I think those are the two things that I always think about, because I've never had an issue with getting enough water throughout the day as long as I have something with me all day long. If I don't, then you're just going to go about your day and you're just going to forget.
Do you think that cup you're drinking out of right now is too small, though?
Well, I mean, I'll fill it up later. It's just something I've got a 64-ounce jug later that I drink all day long. We're having some technical difficulties, everybody, with either Graham or my internet. So we're just going to rock and roll and jump into these topics as Graham tries to navigate and get back on. But I really wanted to talk about two different things today, and Graham will give us his insight when he logs back on. So the first thing I want to kind of talk about is misdiagnosis, because I've seen a lot of stuff over the last couple weeks of a lot of people responding or talking through my posts that have been going up on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn about just different things that I've been posting. But the comments that I'm getting is like, I was diagnosed at, 22 and I was misdiagnosed, or I was diagnosed at 35 and I was misdiagnosed. I was diagnosed at 47 and I was misdiagnosed. And I think that misdiagnosis thing is really important, and I'm gonna share with you guys some things that we found in terms of stats, because when I read through some of these stats, they were pretty alarming on some of these stats that I was seeing. But I think for me, the first thing is understanding that this can absolutely happen, this misdiagnosed thing, especially in the adult population. Way less in the adolescent population, but it's really, really prevalent right now in the adult population. And I always think to myself, why is that? Why are people being misdiagnosed when we have really good tests that are going to give us decent information on where we should at least start, right? So I've talked about this so many times, but I feel like the gold standard, the rule of thumb, you're going in for, regardless of your age, you're going in for a test, or you're going in for symptoms, whatever it is. You don't really know what it is. You're urinating a lot. Maybe you're sick. Maybe you've got some type of diabetes symptom that's going on, but you don't really know it's diabetes. So you go into the hospital, ER, maybe you go to a family practitioner, whatever it is. You're going to some medical professional for a symptom, for the symptoms that you're feeling. And if at all, right, you talk about, brain fog, you talk about exhaustion, you talk about peeing all the time, you talk about constantly thirsty. Those are red flags. Right now, if I'm a physician, right now, you're getting a blood sugar test, just a regular blood sugar test. Let's just test what your blood sugar is. And then if it's elevated, i.e. probably over 150, I'm going to ask when the last time you ate was. Okay, the last time you ate. Okay, well, all right, well, cool. You ate, an hour ago. That makes sense. What's up? Graham's back. What's up, man? I'm talking about misdiagnosis. So you ate an hour ago or a half hour ago, so that might be the reason that your blood sugar is elevated. So then what you look at is, okay, I've done an A1 or I've done a blood sugar test. You're a little elevated. Let me just for shits and giggles, let's do an A1C test. Okay, cool. That should be the second test that happens. So you've got a blood sugar test. You're a little bit elevated. You got an A1C test. If your A1C is elevated over probably, I would say 6.0, maybe even 6.1, 6.2, that's another red flag. Okay, so I've got some data here that's telling me that this could be a blood sugar issue. Maybe not diabetes, but it could be a blood sugar issue. Something's going on. Hormonal, something's going on. So let's just do a C-peptide test, right? If my blood sugars are elevated, I've done a blood sugar test, I've done an A1C test, both are somewhat elevated, even highly elevated, C-peptide test. All right, so now C-peptide test is going to tell us how efficient your insulin production might be. Okay, so if you don't have a lot of insulin production, that's giving us some data now that you could potentially be type 1. If you've got some insulin production, okay, that's giving us some data that you might be type 2. So now we have a little bit more data to push either type 1 or type 2, okay? And then from there, if I want to do even more testing, I can do a autobody test or antibody test. So now I do an antibody test because all three tests that I've done so far are elevated. They're giving me the assumption that this individual is a diabetic. But we still might not know, because we know if we're first diagnosed, we're becoming the honeymoon stage. We still have some insulin production. We still have beta cell function. So a C-peptide test is not going to 100% give us the answer. But what will is an autoantibody test or an antibody test. That will definitely give us more information to make a decision. Okay, so now I have 4 tests that can tell me type 1 or type 2. Let's just say that we still get it wrong, right? Okay, well, there's not enough data here because you do have some beta cell function. You do still have some insulin production. We're just going to say this might be type 2, or it might be LADA, okay? It might be LADA. It might be latent on diabetes onset in adults. It might be LADA, okay? So we're going to start you on metformin, which is what happens if they're not saying that this is actually type 1 diabetes, if they don't have enough information that's saying that you have type 1 diabetes. Here's the main problem. This would alleviate every single person getting misdiagnosed with type 2 diabetes instead of type 1 diabetes. This would be the number one thing that would avoid all of this is, okay, I'm going to put you on metformin. You're going to take this dose, this much every single day. And I want to see you back in 7 days. Done. That's the problem. There's zero follow-up. So now instead of me getting a follow-up appointment, I have to wait 3 or 4 months. And I've been misdiagnosed, and I have to spend 3 or 4 months still constantly peeing, still constantly being fatigued, still constantly having brain fog, still constantly having all these symptoms because we didn't fix the problem. That right there is how the system could be completely reversed, and we would have zero, very, very close to zero misdiagnosis if you would do those 4 tests. But the problem is a C-peptide test, an autoantibody test is, I guess they're expensive. So they don't typically do them at bedside. Doing all 4 of those tests, okay, I go from the glucose. Okay, glucose is high. Okay, I go to A1C. Okay, A1C is high. Okay, I go to C-peptide. There's giving us some information that you have beta cell and insulin decline. Okay, cool. So we're going to do autoantibody test. Oh, shoot, you have 4 antibodies for type 1 diabetes. Okay, this is type 1 diabetes. All right, cool. Let's start the treatment for type 1 diabetes. It's not freaking hard, people. It's not freaking hard, but we're making it super hard because we're not doing enough testing. We're not getting enough data. We're not getting enough information. So that's my biggest problem with this whole misdiagnosis piece. Yeah, go ahead.
Where were you introduced to all the things that you just? How do you know that information? I'm genuinely. I've never even thought about this. in my 32 years of how I got diagnosed in the beginning.
I've talked about this before on how, and again, this is just my perspective on the tons of conversations I've had with people, even on the podcast, who have been misdiagnosed, right? And they've been misdiagnosed for a variety of reasons. Not enough testing, being classified as specifically as like the color of your skin, the your weight, like those types of things. And so this thought process of misdiagnosis has always been very fascinating to me. Remember when I first took over the show by myself, when you had to leave in 2022, and we rebranded the show to the Healthy Diabetic Podcast. I tell this story all the time because it's the number one story that sticks in my head of misdiagnosis. There's been so many others since then, but this is the one that always sticks to my head, and it really irritates me. So I met with this amazing woman. She's a diabetes influencer. She's a amazing Black woman, but she's Black and she's somewhat overweight. So when she was diagnosed, she was misdiagnosed with type 2 diabetes because of her skin color and because of her weight. And when she told me this story back in 2022, it just broke my heart, because you could, as she was telling the story, in the things that she was saying, 100%, if you heard that for the first time, you would say, there's no way this is type 2 diabetes, because of the symptoms, because of the things that she was saying. So she had to spend almost an entire year on metformin with zero little follow-up and zero little help, right? They just kept upping the dose because it wasn't working. It wasn't getting rid of symptoms. She wasn't getting supplemented with any insulin either. So every time she would go back to the doctor, just readjust medication. And it took almost a year.
That'd be so miserable to be type 1 and be, gosh.
Dude, it took almost, think about that.
We all know that
think
feeling
about
of just
all of the
like
craziness.
crap.
Yeah, think about all the craziness that we go through, especially at the beginning of diagnosis. One, you're not sure what's going on. You're not sure mentally what's going on. You don't know how to deal with the condition. You don't know, like, food-wise, exercise-wise, how all this is, and then putting on a medication that's not really it's designed to help, but only if you still have a decent amount or you still have some beta cell function, right? You still have some insulin production. Well, maybe she had some in this year because she might have been in a honeymoon stage or whatever, but she's not making a lot of insulin, which is why she needs insulin support. So it took her almost a year, maybe a year plus, I can't remember the exact time frame, to actually get put on insulin, and right away her symptoms changed. Right away her existence changed because she got the right diagnosis. I completely understand misdiagnosis because of just the way the world works and the way the medical system works. I completely understand it. What I'm not okay with is the lack of testing at the beginning, and two, the lack of follow-up. That's my biggest gripe.
Would you say that it's more complicated the older somebody gets, like versus my juvenile diabetes diagnosis, where straight up I had a couple symptoms, I went to the doc and he goes, this is what it is, go to the hospital? And like, did they run all those blood tests too at the time, or they just knew it based on the symptoms enough?
Again, my personal opinion.
Yeah, exactly. This is the fun part of this, because I am ignorant to this entire topic. I've never even thought about this, but I love it. In 32 years, I've never questioned, wait, they saw symptoms, but was there a blood test? Like, what was that final moment that it's like, all right, go to Children's. Go ahead.
Yeah. There's a couple things, right? So it's just like having a person discriminate against someone because they're African American, or they have a different skin color, or because they're overweight and they're getting misdiagnosed. It's the same thing with adolescent, right? So adolescent, you come around those, even talking 10, 15, 20 years ago, you came across those symptoms, and in the adolescent population, physicians, endocrinology, hospital, it was like, shit, this is diabetes. This is type 1 diabetes, because back then it was considered an adolescent condition. You got it when you were younger.
True. Good point.
Right. So back when you were diagnosed, 30 some years ago. So
and when your blood sugar is 500 too, that's, pretty simple.
Right.
You're right.
But now, right. So now, and even more, probably more back then, type 1 diabetes wasn't really being seen very much in the adult population. Maybe because of so many misdiagnoses, maybe because it wasn't prevalent. People weren't getting getting type 1 diabetes later on in life, but now it's very, very prevalent.
Yeah, totally.
So it's even more important across the board to have a gold standard of how you're going to test. I've got these symptoms. Cool. Here's my protocol of what I'm going to test for. And if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. The problem is the follow-up. If you're getting diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, type 3 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, does not matter. Pre-diabetes, there should be follow-up. It should be follow-up, be no more than 30 days. No more than 30 days, especially at the very beginning, right? If we know that it's type 1 diabetes or we know it's type 2 diabetes, okay, maybe now I can go to my 3 to 4 to 5 month regulatory visits throughout the year. Cool, no problem. But at the beginning, there needs to be follow-up. And that's where I think the medical system is failing, is there's no follow-up to help that individual continue to understand what's going on and continue to go through the process. And is this actually type 2 diabetes or is this type 1 diabetes? Is this actually type 1 diabetes or is this type 2 diabetes or is this LADA or is this pre-diabetes? Is this diabetes at all? Right? So that's what my whole problem, and it always has been with this process, is because you can literally do 4 tests. They can do 4 tests, even if it's within a 30-day period of from the first time you go in with symptoms. If you're getting those 4 tests done in that first 30 days, I would argue that it should be done in the first 14 days, but I would be okay with stretching it from 30 because half the time they don't only do 2 tests anyway. Blood sugar meter, what's your blood sugar right now? Yeah. What's your A1C? Yeah. And then they make a determination off of that instead of looking at C-peptide, instead of looking at autobody. Like it's crazy to me.
I would urge you to try to have a little patience though, because it is such a trying, and so much is changing right now with diabetes that you're saying I don't think we can say it's a failure, dude, because God, I always laugh like topics about, we always say, well, it's endless. I'm not even going to hit on a word you said a second ago, peptide. That peptide word that's now the new thing. And I didn't, yeah, bro. Peptides, right. Yeah. And I don't want, God, my brain slightly went off track. I'm like, let me reel it back in. See, look what just happened. See, I just said the word and it just completely moved me away from what we were saying. No, I would urge you to try to be a little patient, because it is a very changing world. I'll bring something up. I don't know if you saw the text that I wrote you, but there's this little lag in sports. Yes, I'm not going to sound like I don't want to sound sexist, but there's this like little lag in sports yesterday. So I turned on the Indiana Fever, watched little Caitlin Clark, but she's also in Indiana, so Indianapolis, home of Eli Lilly. They are running these remarkable ads. Like, I urge everybody to go and find out the national ads that Eli Lilly is running. It was not selling any product other than exercise. Get out there and exercise. And Caitlin Clark, and this is a spokesperson of one. Dude, I was moved. I felt genuinely moved by that commercial. I thought that was awesome. And guess what the message was in the end? Exercise. And of course, at the end, they flash Lilly, but they're not selling anything. They're genuinely saying, in this crazy trying time when everybody is trying to, give a hoorah. Like, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but people want to hoorah the negativity, right? Like, they want to say, we're proving you wrong and that's why we're right, right? Like you're winning because of their negative. Does that make sense? Like, you're kind of saying like the idea that it's failing. I guess my opinion is that
okay. I want you to finish and then I need to respond to that. Go ahead. Finish.
Thanks. Mr. goes 10 minutes and I can't even have like 5 seconds. No, my point is,
I was trying to say, I was going to interrupt.
This is a big topic between us, medicine versus, and that's all. I urge you to just, I do appreciate seeing that commercial and knowing that there is light at the end of the, I give the Eli Lillys and the Dexcoms a lot of grief for being the corporate greediness, but there are some underlying things still happening if you can sift through all the bullshit, is my point. And just, I don't see it yet as it can't yet be a failure. You just dropped an acronym that I've never even researched yet, this LADA, bro. Like, we can have a whole episode because I don't know anything about it. So, but go ahead. That's it. That's my box.
It's what diabetes 1.0.
Actually, start
it from diabetes 1.5.
Hey, start. And because I moved locations, I'm going to go get my computer charger. So please start. Okay. That'll be 2 seconds.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, all right, we're going to take a break.
Yeah, it'll take 2 seconds.
Yeah, go. Take a break. We're going to take a break and wait till Graham gets back. We'll be right back. Oh, you okay? What's that? We got another 20 minutes, should be home. Yeah, just waiting for Graham. Well, I'll have to just edit it out. So he's plugging his computer back in. because you had to move location.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you good?
So, red music and
All right, we're back. Graham is back. He had to plug in his computer. But I wanted to wait for you, man, because
I love it.
This is important.
Agreed.
This is important, right? So you're saying one thing that I want to clarify, right? I'm saying that there's a failure, and you're having this emotion towards understanding or towards the word failure in medicine, right? Medicine, it's not that medicine has failed us, because medicine hasn't failed us. The evolution, the incredible progression of what is accessible, or what do we have for our health today compared to 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, is astronomically different. So it's not that medical, or even doctors, we even say doctors, right? So doctors, it's not even that doctors are failing us. It's the system, and the way the system runs, and the way the system is set up, that's failing us. Here's my example, and I'm going to use you as the example. Okay. You had a really good diagnosis, right? You spent 5 days when you were 8 years old in the hospital, getting educated, your parents getting educated, going through education. And really that has been for a long, long time what adolescent type 1 diabetes diagnosis is, right? You're getting a lot of support, you're getting a lot of education, but however, that is not happening for the most part in the adult population. It just is not happening.
agreed.
Okay. And where the failure is not from adolescent to adult. The failure is helping that individual understand the complexities of what is going on. I am just releasing this new program called the 5 lessons that you can't learn from your doctor, because there's 5 specific things that has helped me shape managing diabetes and thriving in the way I want to. And I never learned these 5 things from my doctor. And one thing that I say in that process, in those conversations is, and I think I said this last week, I can't, on the last episode, I can't remember, but I'm gonna say it again. There's 8,760 minutes in a year. So if we're being generous, and we know that on an average, we spend about 15, 20 minutes, maybe a little bit more, with our endocrinologist every 3 to 4 months. So that means you have an additional you have basically 20, 40, 60, 120 minutes with your endocrinologist in a year. So that leaves 8,680, maybe 700 minutes that you are left to fend for yourself. You are left to figure this out yourself. If you're lucky enough, like Graham, to have been diagnosed at 8 years old and have a week-long education process.
Such a funny word.
Okay. I know, right?
Yeah.
But for other people, you were very lucky.
I know, I'm joking.
For me, I was not lucky because I had to figure everything out myself,
Yeah.
right? So the reason I think that it's a failure is because there's no support in the 8,680 plus minutes that we are left to fend for ourselves. That's where the failure is. And it's not them not wanting, right? I've been with really good endocrinologists, and I've been with okay endocrinologists, but not one single one that I've ever been with didn't want to help me. They were handcuffed by policies, procedures, and insurance, and their own understanding of how to deal with the individual, not how to deal with the situation,
Sure.
but how to deal with the individual,
Sure.
i.e., no talk about mental health, no talk about exercise, no talk about sleep, no talk about hydration, no talk about nutrition. It is literally, when you go into your endocrinologist's office, it is literally, I see this trend here. Do we need to uptick, downtick your insulin? And if you're lucky enough to have an endocrinologist who will listen, who will spend more time with you, and will get to the bottom of your symptoms, get to the bottom of maybe a problem that you're having outside of just blood sugar or outside of just insulin, awesome. But for the most part, most of us don't have that luxury. What's the alternative? That's my problem, dude. It is not that the system, or it's not that the doctors are failing us. It's the system, and the way the system that is set up that's failing us, because there's no follow-up.
Yeah.
They are 100% smarter than us in terms of the numbers, in terms of being able to understand the formulas and how to deal with blood sugar in the moment when they look at a graph. But outside of that, they're not better than us. They can't understand diabetes on a high level because each one of us are different in how we manage it. So how can they understand diabetes on a high level if they've got 20, 25, maybe 30 diabetics, depending on the practice, and the rest of them are type 2s, the rest of them are other chronic conditions. So it's not like we're the only chronic condition that an endocrinologist has. So it's just, I don't know, man. I'm like going on a tangent now, but that's why I think it's a failure. And it's not because of the individuals, it's because of the way the system is set up and the policy and the procedures that are in place.
Do you think it worries a doctor when he's giving a bottle of insulin to somebody?
I don't know, what do you mean?
You know, I mean, that bottle of insulin could that could kill you. I mean, that bottle of insulin could kill you. You know, do you think there's a level of, you just kind of trust the individual, kind of almost the reverse of what you said. Almost like, if this person can't grasp even in a 5 to 10 minute conversation, the idea of what's happening and what's going on, you know, maybe they should be seeking more support. Somebody else, a CDE, is that what? Yeah. CDE, dietitian.
Well, there's more support. Letters, yes, but yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
When I'm not, and I'm not putting it on the individual. I just think that's probably what, again, it's like you almost, I answered my question by putting something really, really bluntly out there. I think about that all the time, you know, like I think about
the individual.
Like I think about your example all the time. It just defied anything I ever thought about insulin when they were just like, oh, here you go fill this script. Like I just, you know, I see the power that insulin, I mean, dude, if I miss dose by 2 or 3 units these days, I'm plummeting downward, you know? We talked about that movie, you know, what synthetic insulin would do to a non-diabetic, you know? So I just, at times that's, as I said, what other option do they have other than to, you know, to share that power with you? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is my thoughts on this. This is a really good question. So I would say that most doctors, they fear one thing, and that's being sued. And how does that work within diabetes? Here's how it works. So if a doctor gives you a specific insulin to carb ratio, and for some reason you're testing out that ratio, maybe it's good, but maybe for some reason over the next week after your appointment and you made an adjustment, either you took it higher, you increased that ratio or whatever it is, now you're constantly going low. And what's the one thing that they try to protect us from? Because they are not with you and they can't coach you through or help support or guide you through not going low.
Yeah. Hypoglycemia.
They can't do that. They can't protect from hypoglycemia. So they're trying to protect from hypoglycemia by making all of the ratios higher in terms of your blood sugar.
Okay. Play it safe.
Right? Which is
ease into it.
Play it safe. Which is why every single endocrinologist, even the one that I love to death, who I'm with right now, has never supported or guided me through being aggressive with insulin to get my A1C down or to keep my blood sugars near my target.
Yeah.
Not one.
Sure.
It is what I had to learn to do because I feel confident enough to do that. If someone does not feel confident enough to do that, they should not be aggressive. They're going to be fighting with low hypoglycemia all the time, right? So they're trying to protect you from hypoglycemia. That's the first thing. And the second thing is they're trying to protect themselves because unfortunately we live in a society where everyone's trying to get a buck. And if I'm a parent and this doctor just made an adjustment to my child's blood sugar ratio or my insulin carb ratio, and he went low and died, who do you think I'm coming after?
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be happening.
I understand.
That's what happens.
Of course.
Right? So I think that is, to answer your question, I think that is the big thing, right? And that's why they protect so hardly or so much, on not getting into hypoglycemia, but also because it's not fun, also because they do care and they don't want us to die. And you can die right now from hypoglycemia, but most of the time, not every time, but most of the time, you're not going to die right now from being high. You can die right now from DKA, 100%.
Totally.
But if you jump to 200, 400, and it takes you 4 or 5 hours to come back down in range into target, you're probably going to be okay, as long as that's not happening all the time, right? You're probably going to be okay.
Yeah.
But hypoglycemia, people die at 60. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That might not be a real stat, guys, so don't think that is a real stat. I just made that up in my head. We'll just say 40. People can die at 40.
You mean a blood sugar of 40 or 40 years old?
No, 40 blood sugar.
Yeah, of course. Okay, yeah.
I was saying 60. I was saying like 60 blood sugar.
Yeah, I was like,
someone
why
could
is he
die.
talking about age all of a sudden? Yeah, 60 blood sugar.
No,
yeah. I agree, 40.
So
in the high 30s, yeah. Go ahead. In the high, yeah.
So it's. I think that is the reason why they're so protective. They're not there, especially a newly diagnosed diabetic. I agree.
Yeah.
I would 100% agree with the doctor. I don't want to be super aggressive right away. First newly diagnosed person, let's try to keep them in range that 70 to 180 as much as possible. If you're hovering up at 160, 170, 180 for the first 3-6 months, until you like really get the hang of it, build some routines, build some good habits around everything, understand insulin, understand how to navigate and manipulate your blood sugars yourself. Like, I don't want you being regressive.
Yeah. I've loved this reoccurring theme of this doctor, because you'll say things where, as much as I don't want to, I can't disagree with you. And what was painfully obvious to me at my last endo was not only her recommending insulin pumps, was her reason why was because you can give 0.1, you can give 0.2, you could give 0.3. So that technology 100%. Has worked. That has changed the entire world of diabetes. And what you're talking about is malpractice. Malpractice is probably cut. It's probably nothing of what microaggressive, right? You get what I mean? Like, they can make those dosages without being like, hey, just plunge an extra unit into you. That, there was a difficult time with diabetes that wasn't that long ago. Somebody who is 60 years old, if they've been diabetic long enough, they've peed on a stick. That's not even. I think if somebody is 50 years old and they've been diabetic, same as me, since they were a youth, they probably peed on a stick. So this technology, it's happened really, really, really quickly. So you're not wrong.
Yeah, and it's great. That's great that it has too.
I don't think personally, as I was going to say, I don't think she was selling me. I mean, I'm sure that all the doctors get kickbacks or whatever, but I don't think she was selling insulin pumps to me for anything other than it gives them a lot more control in terms of what you're saying.
Well, but
it's dosed to the
yeah. So, in the way that we have to remember the way the algorithms work, right? They're designed to, at least the algorithms, maybe not manual mode, but they're designed to help you alleviate some of the mental burden, because you don't have to think that much, right? If you're pre-bolusing and taking enough insulin, for the most part, management of that algorithm can take over all of the other stuff, the hormones, the dawn phenomenon. Like, it can jump into action and help take care of that stuff. So that's why I think the pump is such an incredible technology and so good for people. Like, again, especially newly diagnosed people, because in a space where you are dealing with a chronic condition that's never going to go away in the short term. It's never going to go away. It's not like you can just go exercise more and change your lifestyle and eat better foods, and all of a sudden you can decrease inflammation and now you can lower your risk. Okay? You can't do that with type 1 diabetes. It is here to stay. Until we find a cure, it's here to stay. So that is one hell of a mental burden on people. I remember it. I remember it so vividly. Like, how much of a strain mentally that is. And then just like being in denial about it. Like, I'm a college athlete. What are you talking about? Like, I'm fine. Being in such denial about it. So it's the technology that we have today, including the CGMs who don't work all the time. It is unbelievable the amount of support that we are getting to try to do one thing, which is decrease the mental burden, right? I think that's the ultimate thing that it's doing for people. It's trying to help decrease the mental burden. There's all kinds of other things that it's doing too. It's helping you control diabetes more, all these things. But I think that for someone that can figure out the algorithm over time, it really can give you a lot of mental clarity.
I feel like we're slowly changing the topic, so I'm going to lean into it. And I just got to say this.
Okay.
Fucking Dawn phenomenon, dude. If I did not listen, I'm going to say, give me 1 minute on the soapbox. I'm like laughing, crying already. If I did not have mental stability, if I did not have a way to manage my anger, I would like, I'm in a rut. I'm in a Dawn phenomenon rut right now. And let me give you a perfect example. Last night, I even told my wife this because I was like, dude, like I was like literally walking around the house. I need to slam. I just have to like, it's like that whole yell into a pillow, punch a pillow feeling. I woke up to check my blood sugar and I was 158. I was 158 at like 3:34 in the morning. But guess what? It was 158 like this. But I'm like, I'm tired. It's 4. I'm like, it's an upward arrow. I'm like, but it's 158. What can I really do? Like, and I'm pretty insulin sensitive. And I wake up 2 hours later, 3 hours later, it's 300. And then it's like chasing the dragon, right? Bring it down. And I know, and you're laughing. I can't, man. Like,
it sucks.
I'm laughing that this many years after diabetes, the one thing that is really the most difficult is the fact that my brain, it's literally what they call it, Dawn phenomenon. Like, yeah, I got a busy brain. I got a lot on my mind, things like, but like, my God, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do at 158. Like, I wake up and when I wake up at 300, I ended up taking 3 units. Maybe it's even 4 units because I'm put like a little like cream in my coffee, right? I don't have faith that if I took those 3 or 4 units at 158, it's going to plateau me. But maybe that's the next thing I do. I was thinking maybe tonight I literally have an insulin with 3 units in it, just like a needle waiting on my bedside. And if it happens again, like whatever it is, I'll just take it and see what happens. But then that's the question moving forward. So now I have to set an alarm every morning at 4 a.m. to take 3 units of insulin, or do I do exactly what my doctor says and get an insulin pump?
No.
And I hope other people sympathize with this, but yes. It is, I will say, probably I don't want to say the things I was really thinking when I wake up at 300, but like, it's the dirtiest things you could imagine. I'm not going to lie. It's like the dirtiest things you could imagine. Almost like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to say that. Yeah. Like I'm smart enough to never like hurt myself, but it's almost like, dude, I don't want to keep doing this. Like, I need a fucking break. What are you supposed to do? I can't be at 3 because I feel like shit, dude. I feel horrible. Go ahead. That's my soapbox.
No, yeah. Does it? So let's try to think about this, right? So this has happened the last couple of nights, or just happened?
Oh God, no. My entire A1C's been off for months because of this, and I think it's just it's work and it's life and it's this, man. There's a movie. This is 40. So and I don't know. I feel like I do good. Like, I went for a run today. I feel amazing. Like, I feel amazing talking to you and life. And dude, I have everything is perfect. Everything is perfect in my life, bro. So that's the other thing. It's just
So that I want to give two.
I'm competitive every day. That's kind of how that's it. That's what I would say.
I want to give 2 things, Graham, because I think that this is really good, because I know you're not the only one that's going through that, right? Everything's going really well. I mean, this shit. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, where the last 2 months were amazing, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, I hit the fan. So it's important to kind of maybe troubleshoot this, right? So I would think think of the checklist that you have for yourself. And this is going not just to Graham, but to everybody. Think about the checklist that you have in your back pocket. What things have you created checklists for? I'm a big person that believes in checklists, whether it's writing stuff down or whether it's you just have in your head. I started this whole process of building the management that I have with writing stuff down, trends that I was seeing over months, and then now it's all just up in my head. So the first thing I always think about is basal. Do you need more basal? The second thing that I think about is if I know I'm insulin resistant, and it sounds like that you're more insulin resistant right now, Dom phenomenon is hitting you harder than it usually does, I would do a couple things, right? So you either have insulin ready to take at those times that you see the trend and it's going up, and you hopefully can take it half hour, 45 minutes before that happens, before that trend starts happening. Or what I used to do when I actually went off of the insulin pump was I would get up every single morning at my normal time, 4:30, 4:45. I usually get into the shower.
God.
And Yeah. Well, I got to be at the gym at 5:30
I
for a
know.
client.
I know.
So I'd get up at 4:30. I would take a unit of insulin, and that would be pretty much regardless of what I was,
Yeah.
unless I was like 100, 120. If I'm like 130, 140, 150, a little bit higher, like I'm taking an extra, I'm correcting, but then I'm also taking a unit. And I did do it quite a few times, being like between 100 and 120. I would take a unit because the trend was telling me that Don Phenom was kicking my butt. So I would take a shower, and it would the unit typically would give me enough support that by the time I ate that first meal at 5:30, 6 o'clock, ate that first bar or smoothie or whatever it is, and I'm taking an insulin, I've got some insulin on board, so it stops the Don phenomenon. It stops the hormonal spike. It stops the blood sugar that's being put into the blood. It's stopping the liver from putting tons of sugar into the bloodstream, which is what Don phenomenon is, right? So that was something that was helping me, and that was all part of my checklists, right? Basal first, insulin second, technology third, in that scenario. In another scenario, it would be CGM's not working for some reason, or my numbers seem off for some reason. Okay, technology first, CGM, insulin pump, kinks, then insulin. Do I have bad insulin? Okay, so it's like these things that you have in place that you've kind of looked at over months, looking at trends that has allowed you to maybe overcome those situations and not let the situation linger on for weeks and months on end. But that's easier said than done, right? Like I have all these checklists, and it took me 2 weeks to go through all the checklists, do experimentation, and figure out like, okay, actually it was Afrezza. Afrezza wasn't working, and I was using a lot of Afrezza. So it's the things that we have to do to navigate what is the next thing, what's the next step that we have to take. And then sometimes you can't figure it out, and it just goes away, and your insulin sensitivity comes back, and now you don't have to change your ratios, you don't have to change anything that's going on. You just have had to deal with crazy blood sugars all over the place for 2 weeks.
You know what I thought about it when you were, and I appreciate all that. I want to find more faith in the Dexcom arrows. I don't know.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were probably listening to what I said and be like, dude, no duh. 158 with the up arrow. So not directly up, the rising up, right? You know what I mean? So that northeast arrow, right? People be like, yeah, the no duh is to take the 3 units there while you're rising. Well, I feel like I don't really have much faith or trust in that, because it could be an up arrow moving me from like 110 to 150, and then I plateau at 150, right? But maybe that is exactly what you just said. I quite literally caught the moment last night where the blood sugar starts rising, and that's exactly what I needed, was to begin with some type of insulin. And maybe I am overshooting it by saying 3, and that might drive some people crazy. Like, what does he mean? We're talking about 3 units of insulin, but yeah, like maybe as you said, it's quite literally a single unit of insulin type of deal, you know?
It could be. That's what it just came down to for me. It could be 2 units or 3 units for you.
What's your faith in
thing?
What's your faith? Yeah, you're gonna say it. What's your faith in the arrows and the things like that? And
that is the number one thing I look at, right? Because it shows stability, rise, excessive rise, low, decline, excessive decline, right? So
you mean you look at that before you see the number?
Well, obviously I see the number first, but then if the number doesn't make any sense, my checklist, right, for the Dexcom, I'll go number doesn't make sense. Okay, what does the arrow say? Okay, I'm steady right now. It says I'm steady, and I've been steady for the past 30 minutes. Something's going on. All right, cool. I need to do a manual finger stick or prick and figure this out.
Yeah.
That's kind of my checklist with it. So my question to you was going to be, do you know what the arrows even mean?
Like double arrow, side arrow, yellow, green.
Yeah, but it's like the time frame, and how much it's decreasing and upticking.
Oh, you mean there's an equation.
Up now.
I know that there's an equation built into the Dexcom somewhere. It like if it drops within 10 minutes.
Well, no. So if you have a specific arrow, what does that arrow actually represent? I didn't know this for a long time.
Okay,
so
educate me then. Maybe I don't.
Okay, so we'll start with double arrow up, right? So this is what double arrow up means.
Double up as in north with two dots.
2 double arrow
Got
arrows. 2 double arrows up.
Going north.
Okay. The blood sugar is rising 3 to It says less. It's 3 or less milligrams per deciliter per minute.
Per
so it's
minute.
fast.
Wow, that is fast.
Per minute.
That's crazy.
3 milligrams per deciliter.
Yeah.
Per minute.
Any change per minute's a lot, right?
I mean,
is it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I guess.
Keep going. This is cool. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So what does that mean? So I'm getting all of this actually from Claude.
Yeah.
Okay. Not from Dexcom. So this might be off compared to maybe the G5 versus the G7. So that means that obviously your blood sugar is rising rapidly. It's very, very fast. Okay. So now you have a single arrow up. That's rising between 2 and 3 milligrams per deciliter. Okay. Rising pretty quickly. Diagonal arrow up.
Northeast.
Rising, right? It's only rising about 1 to 2 minutes per minute.
Okay.
Okay. So moderately rising. You have a straight arrow across. That means you're stable.
East.
Holding steady.
East.
Yep. Yeah. That would be west, not east, right?
No, they point to the right.
Yeah. Yes.
So
sorry. That'd be east.
You're going east.
So that when you have a straight arrow, you're stable, but you still could fluctuate anywhere up or down. And it says 1 milligram per deciliter or less, okay, per minute. Okay, so you're stable. Diagonal down,
Southeast.
You're falling, and it just, now that everything's just reversed.
Southeast.
Right? So falling 1 to 2 milligrams per deciliter per minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Single arrow down is falling 2 to 3 milligrams per deciliter per minute. Double arrow down is 3 or more milligrams per deciliter per minute, right? So that's what the arrows actually mean. And the reason I bring that up is because that I think that we freak out when our numbers change so much. And what you have to recognize and remember is that these things are updating every 3 to 5 minutes, right? So if you have this really fast rise, like as an example, you are a single arrow up and it's rising 2 to 3 milligrams per minute, and it's changing, it's recognizing every 3 to 5 minutes. So you could hypothetically be 9 milligrams per deciliter by the time it actually 9 milligrams per deciliter or more by the time it actually calibrates itself. So it's telling you that you're 120 when you're actually 130 because that's calibrated, right? And then so we get upset and we're like, well, why is it 10 milligrams per deciliter off? Why is it 20 milligrams per deciliter off? Well, it could be because your blood sugar is moving so fast that it can't keep up. That's what I think about when I look at the arrows. That's the first thing I think about. Is this thing updating, or is my blood sugar rising or falling faster than the system can actually keep up? Now, if I have like a small diagonal arrow up or down, or I got it straight across and it's off by 30, 40 milligrams per deciliter plus, okay, now we got a problem. Now it's not reading your blood very well for whatever reason. Maybe you had this big humongous spike and it finally caught up to you, and that's why it's off by 60 milligrams per deciliter because you've already come back down, or whatever it might be, right? So and then we automatically go to, we got to calibrate when it might not be that you need to calibrate. You just need to give it maybe 20 minutes to catch back up, or maybe you do need to calibrate. So it's like, I think that the arrows tell the story, where the number tells me what's happening right in the present, where the arrows are telling me, okay, well, this is what potentially is happening.
Okay. So quickly before we end, let's fast forward 10 to 15 years when we look back and be like, do you remember when will blood sugars be live? Will they just be live time? Like it'll just be like,
yeah, I don't know.
What is blood sugar? What's a blood sugar going to look like in 10 years from now? And you're a guess.
No idea.
An advancement of CGM, or do you think you will still be doing finger sticks?
That's a really good question, Graham, because
I've never thought of it either, to be honest.
I think people that.
But I was doing. Hold on, not to cut you off, but it is crazy that I was doing blood sugar sticks 30. Think about it. I was doing them 32 years ago, so why wouldn't I be doing them in 10 years from now? But go ahead.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
I think the really interesting piece when you really reflect on that question, individuals like me or you who started with blood sugar meters, and that's pretty much what we had.
Yeah, that's what we know. Yeah.
We don't know any different.
You're right.
Even though we're both using a CGM, we don't know any different.
Yeah, true.
And it's very hard to go away from what you do know to try something you don't know, which is why it took me so long to get on a CGM, and same with you.
That's a good
right. So you have to think about that perspective compared to the perspective of someone that was just diagnosed, where CGMs are on the rise and CGMs are the ultimate technology.
Everybody and their mother has a CGM.
Everybody has a CGM, right? That's diabetic, right? So And they rely so heavily on that technology because they don't know any different. They never had to live with blood sugar meters. So to answer your question, I think this is the one thing that I think that is really important to understand is they're going to have a technology or have a CGM that gets deep enough into the tissue that can get passed through all of your tissue, that can actually read subcutaneous blood, right? I think it's subcutaneous blood. Is that correct? I don't know if that's a correct statement.
Well,
but it gets deep enough. Gets deep enough where it's actually reading the blood.
That means can actually get into the blood. Under the sub would be under.
Right?
Yeah, because sub is under, so sub would mean Go ahead. Yeah,
I think that's the right terminology.
So, and you say it right. And again, we're going long, but yeah, probably like I wonder how perfect the technology has to be before we can implant it. Because I would guess the reason why we have
hold on time. Pause. We have implantable CGMs. It's ever since 365 where you wear.
But don't you get it changed every month or something?
No, you get it changed every year.
Once
a year.
Really?
It's under your skin for an entire year.
Yeah, that's cool.
And you have like these silicone transmitters, just like the Medtronic transmitter that you snap in, just like the old transmitters that we had to put the Dexcom on, or was that the G6 was the actual unit, and then the transmitter snapped into the unit.
No, that was like 5. Right? So that was probably like 5-ish, bro.
It's 5 and 6. 6 too, Dan.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. The G6 was like that.
Oh, the one that you were passing. Oh yeah, okay. You're right. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we do have implantable CGMs, and from what I hear about it, it's pretty darn awesome. Their biggest thing, I think, and I've never used them. This is my personal opinion from outside looking in. The transmitter is pretty big. It's pretty big. I don't know if that silicon stays on during like excessive sweating, excessive exercise. I have no idea. But I know the people that are on it are very, very happy with it because they don't have to deal with taking something off and on every 10 days. It's constantly working.
Yeah.
I think you still have you have the Dexcom the first couple days where it's just because there's a lot of fluid buildup when you first get it inserted. You're going to have that happen with that technology as well, but after the first couple of days it reads your blood sugar because it can get deep into the tissue. So to answer your original question, they're going to have something that can read subcutaneous blood that can be more accurate, and I don't know how they're going to do that with the way the technology is built now, where you actually have to put a needle through tissue, and the more fatty tissue, the more dense the tissue, the least distance you can get into the tissue, right? So if you're putting it in the stomach and I got really hard tissue, that thing ain't getting through that, right? But which is why everyone puts it on their arm, because you have less dense, like super superficial tissue, not muscle tissue, but super fatty tissue that you can't really get through. So they're gonna have to, in my head, they're going to have to create a technology that can get through the tissue and get into and actually sit into the blood, where maybe now they're reading blood sugars through, blood from muscle tissue, from fat tissue, from like those types of cells. Like, I don't know. That's just where my head first goes with thinking about that question.
Did you get one?
Would I get what?
Did you get an implant?
I've been thinking about it. I want to try one. Just haven't found. I haven't the endocrinologist has to tell the rep for the area. The rep is supposed to connect with you to give you more information, talk to you about it, and then you have to find a license, a certified physician to actually do it outpatient.
Back alley procedure.
Right? No, but because this is what my endocrinologist told me. He was like, I would go get certified 100%. It's a sweet technology, but I don't have enough patients that want to do it to make me have to go for a whole entire weekend to get certified when I'm going to have 1 or 2 patients to do it. Yeah. So he's like, I would rather just send you to someone that's already certified to do it every year. So he was like, if I had enough patients that want to do it, he was like, I would go do it, because they have to be certified on how to cut into the muscle tissue, putting it in, because it's right there at bedside. Yeah. When you would just get it done when you go to see your endocrinologist.
You're kind of familiar with that process, though. That's how you got all your muscles, right? They're all implants.
What? Yeah.
You got a body full of implants and has chest, legs,
Butt, calves, everything.
That was your first one. But all right, wrap this up.
That's funny. All right, man. This was great.
This was
as always.
awesome.
Thank
Good
you everybody
talk.
for listening. Go into the show notes because the program is up. The 5 lessons that you cannot learn from your doctor. It is a free 5-day, all-encompassing program. It is finished. I am releasing it tomorrow. I'm releasing tomorrow, which is Tuesday, which we're recording this on Monday. So it is up. If you just click on the link, there's a whole section or a whole page, whole website on the program. You can sign up and you can start learning the 5 things that you absolutely cannot learn at your doctor. And if you have learned it, this is going to give you way more insight than they ever can. They just don't have the time capacity and the resources to help you navigate diabetes between appointments. And that's what we're really talking about. We're not talking about managing diabetes when the time that we're going to the doctor. We're talking about managing diabetes in that 8,680 plus minutes that you're forced to fend for yourself. That's what this program is going to start helping you gain some insight in. So I'm super excited about it. Go into the show notes, click on that link. It just says the 5 lessons that you can learn from your doctor, and sign up for the program. And I'll see you inside the community. You can communicate and talk to all the other people that are in the program. It's going to be a really cool thing that I hope I'm able to continue for a long, long time. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. Graham, thank you as always. And we will see you guys next time.